What's up, guys? I'm here with Lee Smith today, bringing you episode 2 of What It Means to Train Like a Pro. And today we're focused on C.A.T.E.R. C.A.T.E.R represents the 5 pillars that are our structure at Triple F of how we approach athletic development. It really entails our approach to both youth athletes as well as our adults. And the C in C.A.T.E.R stands for character, which will flesh out and explain exactly what goes into how we approach character, how we hold everyone in the building accountable from a character standpoint, how character really embodies the faith aspect of Triple F, just really the moral backbone that represents all of what we do and how we operate at our facility. A is for assessment. We'll dig into that and just the cool measurements and tests and ways that we track progress. T, training, really is obviously the meat of what we do. We are a training facility. It is the actionable thing that is Triple F. And in that, we'll uncover just the kind of hot button items of just in-season training. How do I have any sort of off-season kind of development with a club sport and a multi-sport approach? That's going to be a really important thing we focus on. Then the last two, I know this one's Lee's favorite, is experience. We want to make sure that everybody leaves Triple F with a smile on their face and just knowing that they were cared for and are getting the absolute best quality training on the planet. And then lastly is recovery. So recovery represents the sports med piece of our model. It represents nutrition, the things that we do to make sure athletes really are recovering at the rate that they should be and managing their plan long term. So we're going to get into it right now. I'm going to go ahead and shoot a question over to Lee just regarding character, because we know we're going to spend a lot of time here, and I just really want to make sure that that this is something that you guys appreciate where our heart is, especially Lee and his vision for even creating Triple F, and it starts with character. So Lee, just the first thing, man, just the name of Triple F, faith, family, football. Some people don't know that, they don't know what Triple F actually stands for, and the center of that is faith. So as we really address both character and faith, I just want to open up with just, where you're at as you're kicking this thing off, and we're really having kids in our facility, but the ultimate measurable of character comes first and will always be the thing that we prioritize at the gym.
Absolutely, man. It's crazy how Triple F was born. The good Lord put it on my heart a few years ago. I knew that I was getting to the end of my career, and I just didn't know exactly how it was going to look. And I knew I wanted to be around kids. I knew I wanted to be around athletics. Obviously, we'll have a really gnarly program for our adults that we're excited to release here soon. But my thing was the kids and building a place that kids could grow not only as human beings but as athletes and just as young men and women. So character is the most important part of that to me. Like you said, I love the character and I love the experience. Your expertise handles the other stuff. I'm kind of the Triple F mascot, right? And the brains behind, the crazy brain behind all this came together. I'll trust my team on those 3 pillars that I mentioned, but character and experience is something that I think I can be an extreme value to these young men and young women.
Absolutely.
And help our team really grow human beings. And athletics is the best place to do that. But there will be a standard. It'll be non-negotiable. When you drop your child off at our gym, you'll know that when they walk in, every young man and young woman is expected to live up to the same standard. And that's the character piece in itself. And the easiest way I can explain it is what I want you as a teammate.
Mm-hmm.
What I want you around my daughters. What I want you, in my home, sitting out by the pool with my 4 kids, one of which is a 9-year-old little girl. If you don't kind of meet those things, then I don't know that Triple F will be the place for you. And that's never going to change. And we'll always stand strong on the type of people and the environment that we provide. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm sure far from perfect. And once again, my faith life will always be on the front lines, regardless of how crazy I am and how much fun I like to have. It'll be a really raw environment. This is not a Christians-only organization. This is an everybody organization full of love and care for our kids and our adults, and I'm just juice, man. You know me. I can't wait to get in there and really start that character piece and letting the community know and letting these kids know, like, hey, man, when you walk in here, like, this is the standard. And it's very familiar to me in pro sports. There's a lot of great football players in the world. And if you don't do things the right way, if you're not a great teammate, if you're not a great pro, then they'll replace you. And that's kind of the way we're going to operate at Triple F.
Yeah, I know we've brainstormed a lot about character in the past, and just because it's so important to both of us, and really every person that we're bringing and hiring at Triple F it's important to all of us. It is the most important thing. That's one thing we want to make sure that people appreciate about us. We've separated character, though, a lot of times as both personal character and professional character. And I think, when you touched on what it means to be a good teammate, that's the professional character piece. That's like, am I showing up on time? Am I consistent with my words and my actions? Am I where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there? Like things that allowed you to be the professional that you were for a long time is because people just could rely on you. They could just trust you to do your job, right? And then the personal piece of just even getting our 14 passenger van and filling it full of kids and taking over to the farm and just really like having some local pastors, be there to talk about life, just to talk about what's going on, how do we handle certain challenging kind of moral situations, but I mean, what it really means to just follow Jesus ultimately and to love others well. I mean, love is going to be a huge measurable of just our personal character. It's the fruit that we bear. But we could spend all day talking about personal character. But if you just want to comment a little bit just on kind of that difference and just maybe even the accountability side and what that looks like for us.
Yeah, man. Listen, these young people are going to lead each other just as much as we lead them. So once again, when I bring in a 14-year-old female that's a stud soccer player, I need to be able to look her mom and dad in the eye and say, my 18-year-old boys are going to impact your daughter in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And if those 18-year-old boys don't meet that criteria, then they won't be a part of our deal. And that's just the way it's always going to be. It's non-negotiable. And listen, 18-year-old boys ain't the smartest creatures on the planet. I was one at one point. So once again, we're not looking for perfection. We're not a judgmental, self-righteous institution. But one thing we are is a group of individuals that love Jesus. That's always going to be non-negotiable with me and you. But at the same time, are extremely understanding that a lot of people are in a lot of different places, whether it's religiously, spiritually, in life in general. So all we're going to do is love people. And as long as they understand that, there's a line in the sand that can never be crossed, I don't think we're going to have any issues, bro. This is going to be such a fun, outgoing, loving, just absolutely energetic environment that just blows people away. But at the same time, we will come out of the gates with a very clear description of what our character piece is. Yep. And what the standard is. And as I say a million times, it will be non-negotiable. Now, are we unforgiving? Absolutely not. I happen to be, a 16 to 18-year-old boy with 0 sense. So I can't wait to lead these young men. I can't wait to be another person in their life they can lean on and help them get through things. So like I've said multiple times, I have a 14-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy, soon to be 11. He can finally be a Triple F member here in about 20 days or about 10 days. So he's all fired up. But man, I'm so excited about that character piece and just leading these young people and being a resource for them on and off the court, on and off the field. With your athletic development piece, it's just going to be such a special environment.
So the last thing on character before we move on is the ethos group that you've kind of established that holds us accountable, that really is the constant in our facility. So this is not just character anymore. This really represents like protecting Triple F as a whole and just really making sure God's hand is always on it and through everything that we're doing. And so I just want you to speak on just your relationship with Jim Branch and just what he meant to you when you were in high school, and without someone like that who we're bringing on is kind of our roundtable, our council of men like Jason Hayes and Maddie Montgomery and some of these other just local community spiritual leaders who we're asking to lead us, which they already have. We've been meeting with them, pretty frequently up until now to help us establish, what even just scriptures are we going to use that really are something that all of us can really grab onto and just make a part of who we are and our identity. And just, that cultural piece of Christian spirituality. But really, I just want to make sure that you're willing to share just kind of your relationship with Jim and what he meant to you even during that time and how we want to bring that to athletes here in Knoxville.
Yeah, man. I'll start with Jim Branch because he's the OG of our group, right? He's the one that's been around the block the most, seen the most, and when I'll always go back to when I was these young men's age. I was off the rails. I wasn't living right. If there was a right turn and a wrong turn, I typically enjoyed the wrong turn. And Jim was just always that steadfast man that I could count on to never judge me, never climb down my throat and beat me up and make me feel guilty. But he always was very clear in the fact that Jesus loves you, dude. I'm here for you. I know you're going through it, but I'm always going to be that place, that safe place that you can come when you're struggling. And now that I've become an adult, I look back and I'm like, you know what, man, I'm going to take a chapter from that book. I'm not going to be crawling down these kids' throats. I'm not going to be peppering them with the old school suit and tie Baptist minister stuff. We're not that that's wrong. I hope that didn't sound bad, but it's just real because it didn't help me. And I can only look through the lens of what I experienced, and I experienced a man like Jim Branch who I knew no matter what, whether I was sinning or whether I was living right, that man loved me. And I could always go to him. And just having that safety net, I think, was exactly that. It was that safety net that saved me right before I hit the ground. And if it wouldn't have been for him, I don't know that I wouldn't hit the ground. So the fact that he's on this ethos team and he's a big part of who we are and holding me and you accountable.
Absolutely.
Listen, man, I'm just as flawed as anybody, if not worse. We'll get my wife on here one of these days. She'll tell everybody all about it. But right now, with the stress of transitioning away from the NFL and trying to do this for this community, and you're here from Atlanta in a completely new place, and a lot of our staff is joining this ride with us and trusting in me and you to lead them and keep them right. If we don't have those people, leading us, then how are we going to lead others? And so I'm a big believer in a huge network of people. I'm a big believer in being vulnerable as a male. It's been frowned upon for far, far too long. It's okay to be vulnerable as a male as long as you have those people that truly love you and trust you in your life. So that's who Jim and Jason are. Jason Hayes is my pastor at Shoreline. He's not quite the OG that Jim is. He's probably right in the middle of mine and Jim's age, I would guess. Had breakfast with Jason a few mornings ago, and it just propels me for days and weeks to come. So those guys will always be the ones to say, hey, Lee and Rich, we ain't seen you in a while. Y'all good? Yeah. How you doing? If we're not right, how are we going to lead these young people? So we'll always have those tears. Know that when we're pouring into your kids, there's other people pouring into us. And Rich will hold me accountable. I'll hold Rich accountable. There won't be any sensitivity. It's, hey man, you let that 4-letter word slip out of your mouth. There was a bunch of young people around. It's like, I hear you, brother. I got to get better. So I'm flawed. Rich is flawed. We're all flawed. But one thing we're going to do is we're going to love people, and we're going to keep great men around us to make sure that we stay on the rails as much as we can.
So now we're going to get into assessment, which is the second letter in C.A.T.E.R. And really, this probably defines C.A.T.E.R as a word the best because that is the goal of assessment. Assessment is really the entry into our athletic development model, okay, before we even get into training. This is why A precedes the T, because assessment is taking the time, using our amazing technology at the facility, using tons of data and our standards to basically tell our athletes, with these 9 qualities, which ones are you deficient in? Which ones can we flag? Which ones do we need to address like day one, right away? We cannot really advance into this other thing until we tackle this first and foremost. More than likely, especially with our younger athletes, most people need to get better at all 9 things. But at a whole, we just want to make sure that people are really understanding our product and our model is really to make athletes more athletic. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but it is true. And athleticism is something that we define and break down and address on a long-term basis. So as we kind of dig into assessment a little bit, there's going to be more videos to come really showing, okay, what are these 9 qualities again? What are we actually measuring within those? Because each of those qualities has a lot of depth to it. And a lot of it is layered with the type of athlete that we have and kind of where they're at. Obviously, the test that an 11-year-old is going to be doing are going to be different than an 18-year-old, but we definitely want people to appreciate the depth that we're willing to go into, and really what has been my forte my whole career. If I can really put my finger on one thing that I feel like I'm best at, it's going to be assessment, because I hate guesswork. Like I hate. Hate's a strong word, but it really bothers me to have a training session in which we're all just in there. Like, there's 20 of us, we're all training, we're all different sports, there's a workout on the wall, and we're not really like using the time as best as we can. We're not really using the resources as best as we can. So assessment makes sure that that happens. And it even allows me to audit my own work. Like when we do have a training program in place and those assessments, those qualities aren't improving the way that they should go, something needs to change. So assessment is so crucial to the overall process because it creates the plan. But the best thing about it is that it is going to be standardized and automated, and it's a language that everybody will be able to speak. And something we did at GAC back when I met Lee, and it was kind of explaining this to him when we first met, was like how kind of obsessed these youth athletes get whenever you're measuring these qualities and showing them like how much better they're getting. And obsessed can be a good thing, right? Like we want these kids to really see like, man, here's what I need to work on. If I just do this and I put the work in, I'm going to see that grow and improve, and I want to hit that next level. Like I really desperately want to get to that next thing. And we have these 5 levels that are foundation, fit, fortified, fast, and freak, which I'm going to have a whole nother episode just breaking that down, which will be episode 3. But just in a nutshell, Lee's going to comment a little bit on just how, before he even met me, his approach to training was the exact same. Like Lee wanted to make sure that we weren't just going to be that facility that just slaps a workout on the wall and everybody just goes, because that's not how he operated. So shed some light, Lee, just on even year 6. I know you talk about that a lot in the league, and just kind of how you went from your kind of gritty, just get after it approach to like, okay, I need to be more calculated. And calculated is a word we'll use a lot because that's exactly what assessment is.
Yep. Well, listen, this is your expertise. Obviously, I drug you down here from Atlanta because you can truly develop people through the programming side and the assessment side and the training side. Like, I won't speak on that too much just because that's where I'll lean on you the most. I can only speak on my experience and what I've seen with other professional athletes. And inefficient training is a nightmare. It causes injuries. It causes young people, old people, and everybody in between to not be able to grow at the pace they need to truly survive in athletics. So to me, assessment, and I hate saying this, I know hate's a strong word, but I hate saying injury prevention because sports are 100% injury, especially the game I played. But trying to mitigate injuries in any way we can starts with the assessment piece, 100%. And having Emily on staff for the PT side, I've watched so many of my brothers that I love. Tony Moyaki's always my first one. Tony will be down. He'll be training with us at some point. That's my guy. Injuries cost him millions. And it's just unfortunate because guys don't know any better. And I was that guy. I had 2 kids in college and a beautiful wife, and I was donating plasma to pay the bills while I was, before my summer classes. And all I wanted to do was outwork everybody on the planet. I knew if I outworked everybody on the planet every single day, twice a day, that I could always sleep at night and know that at least I gave it my all trying to get to the NFL. I get to the NFL, have a couple surgeries, I'm surviving on, painkillers and grit, and I meet Joe Gomes. When I was playing for the Raiders, and he sits me down and he's like, hey, big boy, you're built for tough and you outwork everybody and all that's great, but please just trust me and listen to me and do what I tell you to do, and I promise you're going to like the results. There was days I'd go in the weight room and he'd say, you're doing nothing today. I'm like, huh? No, I don't think so. I'm going to do some bicep curls or something. And he's like, no, you're doing nothing. And if you want to be stubborn, go get on the bike. He really educated me on the recovery piece, how to ramp up, slow down, in and out of season training, and really efficiently grow my body long term. And it was by far the most dominant I ever was in my career. And when you say, these kids get obsessed, they sure do. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to be getting obsessed with 1 rep bench maxes and 1 rep
obsessed
squat.
with the right things.
Yeah. We're not going to have a board on the wall that says squat champion. Like, we're not doing that. And if that's what you want, this ain't the place for you. Yep. So what we're doing is we're making them obsessed with athletic growth. Mm-hmm. If you want to go to the Arnold Classic, we might not be the place for you. we're developing athletes here, and that's what we're going to do all the time, and it's going to be very clearly communicated, and these parents are going to lose their mind. Our adult program is going to lose their mind. These kids are going to be just so excited for that growth and to hit the next tier and to take the next jump, but it's all going to be on total athletic development growth, not a bench press growth or a squat growth. You know, we have to play those games, the NFL Combine. You know, we'll get guys benches up, we'll get guys 40s up or down, however you want to look at it. We'll do all those things. We have to play the game with these college recruiting processes. And another reason I'm so excited about having you is having these guys around the best when it comes to those testing times.
Yep.
Because you understand that's the game, man. You got to play
100%.
it. You got to get these guys ramped up certain times of the year when they
get in the door.
Correct. But that's not going to be our plan for our 12-year-olds. That's not going to be our plan truly for long-term development. That's little, cherries on top and little fragments of what we do when the time calls for it, and these parents need their kids to get that scholarship offer, or our college athletes need to get to the NFL. So it'll be fun. But the assessment piece fires me up, bro. I can't wait to watch what you do. I've already seen you do a few of them on our members currently, and it's just a gnarly deal that truly allows parents to see, hey, this is what we're about to do with your child, and this is why. And I'm not sure that that's happening many places, and that's why you're sitting here beside me, and I can't wait for you to knock everybody's socks off and show them that when your child trains a certain way, there's a plan behind it, and it's based off of that assessment piece on the front end, and here's where we got to get before we assess again and decide if he can move on.
Yep.
And that's just going to be a really, really cool product.
Absolutely, man. So as we segue from assessment to training, I just want to touch on two things you said. One is, getting obsessed with the right things, but like the overuse piece that happens a lot of times with inefficient training. And then also, just the efficiency of your body. Like that's what Joe helped. He helped you become a more efficient machine, a more efficient body that goes out there when you do perform. Oh, I have more access to my joints now because I actually stretched when I had a hard time stretching maybe in college. We're dealing with that with almost all of our teenage boys, right? Thankfully, some of them are a little bit more limber, but that's kind of what we're talking about with flagging these things. Like we're finding out what needs to be fixed like right now, because man, you actually could legitimately be injured because you're not moving that well.
100%.
So when you talk about mitigating injury, reducing the risk of injury, it is, especially with our sports med staff, that is a whole part of our assessment deal that we won't touch on today, but just our medical process of like, I'm in pain, I'm not moving well, those things need to be exposed right away and addressed right away, because if we load those things, like they only get worse. It's like doing a math problem incorrectly over and over and over again. It's like we got to make sure we address these things first. But going into now the training piece, when we go from assessment, parents meet with me as well as athlete, and we work on this plan, and we develop like a great plan for the semester. We take it a semester at a time or a season at a time. Now, because of our long-term athletic development structure that I think people are well aware of at this point, we have 12 months, right, to make sure that we're doing this thing at the right pace. Then now the issue is like, how much of a dose can we give without doing too much to where things aren't recovering as well as they should. So recovery is a hot button topic. Like oftentimes, kids can recover from a lot. Like, Brody can play, he could probably play 2 games back to back, playing both sides of the ball right now. He's 14. It's just crazy what these kids can endure, but that doesn't mean it's good, right? If we find out that on a Sunday he's not worth anything, and he's showing up Monday to school, can't focus because he's so exhausted, obviously those are the things that we need to be looking at and considering. But when we think about just that thread of dose that needs to be undulated throughout time, and just like, man, as club season's ramping up right now, we're having that conversation. Like, how can we make sure we're modifying the training, at FFF, and even talk to your coaches at your school and your club coach, and just like have these real relationships, which is like crucial to this whole process. If we care about the total athlete, then of course we're going to be having these conversations with parents, athlete, club coach, strength coach, athletic trainer, because we're building this team. If we don't do that, we don't do that due diligence and make sure we're truly caring for our members, then we're not tracking the stress that's being put on these 100%. Kids. And if you're not tracking the stress that's being put on these kids, then that's when overtraining happens. That's when under-recovery happens. Yep. Holding athletes accountable to how much they sleep. What does their eating habits look like? Because we're a training facility. Kids are going to come in for an hour and a half, and we're talking about that session. You follow your plan. We just assume, man, you're ready to roll. Like, you're the best version of yourself. And of course, we don't assume really anything. We've measured it, and we know, hey, he's coming in. It's a Monday morning. Like, he should be able to just crush this. It's off season right now. But if we know that he's not doing his job on the sleep side, and his club coach, crushed him the day before in a practice, or he's doing the 7-on-7 tournament that we didn't know about, like all those things, man, just like total load. In the NFL, it was, you knew exactly what you were getting. They had so many devices on you, just like tracking your load. So as we get into training, just making sure that it really is clear that our training session, our training structure is very protective of where the athlete's at, but it's also not soft.
No doubt.
If it's a Lee Smith gym, it ain't gonna be soft, and it's that balance, man. Just living that balance. And we're gonna push every person in that gym, including ourselves, to train hard and get after it. And yes, they will be sweaty, and yes, they will be, tired. But man, like, even pushing their nervous system, like, they'll be pushing ways that they're like, I think that was hard, like, or even just from our speed development stuff of like, man, it doesn't feel like I'm really that sweaty leaving the gym today. Was it a successful session or not? It's like, absolutely it was, because it was exactly what you needed at the right time, and we'll use the word dose a lot, but go ahead and speak on, man, just your style of training. Just like when you envision yourself on the floor, you've got 17, 12-year-olds, like, they've got their plans. We're in a group session. You've got the 25 minutes in the weight room, and then the 25 minutes on the court, 25 minutes on the turf that represent our whole session structure. And you've got these kids, and you're showing them these exercises. A lot of them, hopefully, they, are grasping on quickly. That way we can keep the ball rolling. Like, what is your coaching style? What are you expecting the environment to be like when we're training, truly getting after it, post-assessment?
Yeah, man, listen, at the end of the day, I always say we're not just going to be a sweat factory. There's going to be times that your child doesn't get back in the car covered in sweat, because there was a plan developed by who I truly believe, and I might be biased, is the best programmer for a long-term athletic development on the planet, especially for kids this age.
Yep.
And, my man Joe Gomes out there, if you're watching, you're up there too, old buddy. But yeah, just guys like you and Joe are just so special. And the overtraining and under-recovering was literally me. That was me. And I've been cut apart and put back together and played a lot of games in the National Football League in extreme pain. Looking back, would I still been banged up? Maybe. It's a pretty volatile sport, but all the little nicks and bruises and some of the little things that I dealt with over my career, I'm like, man, that was so unnecessary. And I just gritted through it. It affected me as a player. You don't look as good on tape when you're banged up. So to answer your question, when I'm in there with these kids, it's my main goal is to become Joe Gomes for them. Change their brain waves of understanding that, hey, there's going to be certain days that there's going to be puke on the floor. There's going to be other days that everybody's like, man, coach, can we do more? No, you can't, because it's a part of the plan. Trust me. Every day that you think you didn't work hard enough, it's coming. Don't you worry. Well, there's going to be that day that you don't feel your legs, right? But that's not going to be every day, because if we don't recover their bodies and we don't grow them the right way and we don't educate them, then we're going to have some issues down the line that nobody likes. When the 42-year-old man throws his back out reaching for the remote, typically there's some past trauma of inefficient care for their bodies that are associated with that, to say the least, and normally it's youth athletics. Yep. So for me, it's going to be starting with the younger group, because most of the time I'll have the younger cats, because I love their energy. We're going to have a ton of fun. It's not going to be as load-intensive as some of our older kids might be, that you'll be with more, just because trying to get them to the next level, they need to be with you. They need to be with the expert. The younger kids will be with me, and we'll just be partying, man. Explaining to them what it truly looks like to develop long-term, what it looks like, to give them motivation to look over there at Trevor Duncan and say, that can be you one day if you work hard, then you get to be over there with Rich. Right now you're stuck with me. And teaching these kids that training efficiently and training the right way is truly the most important piece. And you're right, man. Like in the NFL, everybody's in-house. I walk down this hallway and see my nutritionist. I walk down that hallway and the chef has my meal ready. I walk down that hallway and get my ankles taped. I walk down that hallway and see my strength coach. I walk down the other hallway and, see my position coach. And it goes on and on. We're now officially the supplement piece. So, man, we've had so much fun reaching out to all these coaches and all these club sports and and just getting with these folks and saying, hey man, if one of your young boys or young girls is a member at Triple F, we really, really want to be involved and make sure we don't miss a beat.
Yep.
If I use it all the time.
As a team, we really want to
Absolutely.
work together. You know?
If Mia Green, for example, one of our stud basketball players, you know, Sean's a great friend of mine. What Sean's doing in this community is great. We're very aligned in our philosophies of how we take care of people. And if Mia travels home from a, you know, Under Armour basketball tournament all night Sunday night, if she comes into Triple F Monday morning, we kind of need to know that before we just slap her on some sweat factory workout on the whiteboard and make her real sweaty. You know, now all that was inefficient. Now we set her back. Now our body's fried, and unfortunately, it's going to keep happening. And that's just not who we'll be. We will be so in tune with their entire training lives.
Yep.
Not in an invasive way. We're the supplement. When it comes to the school coach, man, we're just here to help you. When it comes to the club coach, we're just here to help you. We will never call these folks and tell them they're wrong. We'll never call these folks and tell them to do anything different. We take the burden of knowing, hey, a lot of kids don't have off seasons anymore. Don't get me and you on that rabbit hole. We'll save that for another day. But you don't have an off season. You're in and out of this. You're training with this person. You're doing this sport specific stuff. You're da 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 da. What we have to do is we have to take these kids in and put them on your plan and assess them and monitor them and know the load they're under. And in that way, we can just take them to the moon, man. And that's what Joe Gomes taught me as a 6-year NFL veteran, almost 30 years old. And it changed my career. Quite honestly, if it wouldn't have been for Joe Gomes, I wouldn't have played as long. I wouldn't have been as financially safe, and I wouldn't have been able to build Triple F.
Yep.
It's that simple. All because one man taught me how to train the right way, and I got to play a decade plus because of it in the National Football League, because Joe Gomes taught me how to not beat myself half to death thinking I was helping myself. And it changed my perspective.
More isn't always better.
Correct.
Yep.
So that's where all that comes from on my end. That's why
Yep.
you were so important to me to bring you here. And
Well, that's also where you and I touched on, like right away. That's how we knew, man. Like we think the same, because it's not like we're, again, overly protective, but like stress management is all I know. And it's just funny because I'm a stress inducer. Like that's literally my job. I went to school for how to put stress on people, because when I do that, physical stress, psychological stress, whatever, it makes you better. It strengthens you, right? Like you need that dose. But if I'm not considering all the other stressors, then that could not be having the effect that I want. And I'm grateful that I had an opportunity. You know, the Lord opened a door just as I was finishing my bachelor's degree, that I went right into a graduate assistantship, you know, getting my master's, but working with a Division I program right away. And so that's when my career started. My career started where if I didn't manage stress well and I was contributing and someone got hurt and the coach would point the finger at me and said, what you did actually hurt my team rather than help my team, I get fired. So I always operated in that mindset of like, I have to make sure that we're balancing our training, we're getting the most, and we're ready to stink and perform when it's time to perform. When the lights are on, we're at our best. That's literally our job. And that's always going to be our concern. Like, yes, we're measuring these 9 athletic qualities, but we're not going to be so obsessed with these qualities that we're not thinking about game time. Like,
100%.
we're thinking about, you know, when you're walking out in that field, you're a varsity level athlete, like, we want you to contribute as much as you can to the team. We want you to feel your best. And that's hard to do, man, just with navigating calendars and schedules and just all that stuff. But that's what we're willing to do. Like
100%.
it's going to literally be all day long, you know, processing, conversations, communicating, but that's what we're willing to do, and we're not willing to water down that product either. We're not going to occupy our minds or selves outside the facility. We're going to protect that at all costs, because these 150 members and their calendars matter to us big time. So, you know, one thing I will say, as you were talking, that again, it's another one of those hot button topics like in season that I won't get into, but it just so happens that 11 to 12 and 13-year-olds get like the worst training. You know, like, and a lot of it is because, you know, here I am going from Division I to high school now to a lot of it's going to be our younger kids. It's just the nature of just like youth sport, where typically middle schools who have their own athletic programs also typically don't have like the best, you know, kind of certified credentialed sports people and sports athletic developers, you know, and there's some great ones out there, but like it just tends to go that way because there's not much money in middle school. You know, like if the people that are the best in the industry typically want to be over here where the money's at. They want to be professional level. They want to be collegiate. They want to be high school. Like it feels like it's a punishment to be dealing with middle school kids, you know, but at the same time, you can argue that they probably have some of the greatest needs and they need to be protected from both overuse. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times, just I've been here for 4 months and coming from Atlanta for 6 years, how many just stories I hear about of a 12-year-old already getting a Tommy John, or like, ACLs being blown out 11 and 13. And again, some of that is like you said, just the nature of the sport, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it is just true overuse and just doing so much because it's a rat race. Everybody thinks that more is better. And again, that's something we'll kind of flesh out more, but people just really need to understand and appreciate just how much we care about like protecting that. And that leads us really to experience, because with experience, these are kids, right? Like have your childhood, have fun. Sports should be enjoyable at almost all times. Like experience both is something we protect and have our own kind of definition of at the facility, but it's also like we want what you do here to cause you to love your sport even more. And even if, especially if we encourage this, playing multiple sports, like taking a break from your sport for a moment, like helps. It's a good thing. Like absence makes the heart grow fonder. With now I'm transitioning and I'm excited for this other sport to be again. But again, a lot of times that's just the way youth sports. It's an uphill battle a little bit with protecting that. So, one thing I just wanted to, as a segue between training and experience, and I'll just let you comment on this, like going back to you leading those groups of 11, 12-year-olds, kind of depending on what level they're on in the facility, and you're training them. You're gonna be playing games with them too. Like we're gonna be playing. We're gonna be, like you said, partying. I mean, there's gonna be elements of a training session that don't quite look like a normal training session, but it's because we know what's best for the kid. We're gonna compete. We're gonna play. Sometimes with training, and our definition of training isn't just I'm sprinting and lifting, and sometimes it's like I'm recovering, I'm stretching. Again, it has to do with the assessment of what we flag, but just talk about just what you want every single kid and adult to experience truly upon finishing a session, and then even just long term, like they've been with us for 3 months. What do we want them to say about their experience? Because it is one of our 5 pillars.
Yep. Well, now we're on my second favorite. Like we always talk about, is the experience. I want every single member of this place, adult and child, when they're hanging out after church on Sunday, I want them to be raving about just the energy and experience they have inside our brand and inside our facility. And that's twice as important to me as anything else, because I want this to impact people's lives. Yep. You're the best in the industry at developing these kids, 100%. I will take on the responsibility of making sure at all times that our facility is growing people and just the most pure, loving, enjoyable environment on the planet, while it's still gritty and tough. Mm-hmm. And that's going to always be my deal. And training and experience kind of go together. The training that they get is going to be the experience they get as well. For we're a long-term athletic development facility. So I always go back to my time with the Buffalo Bills with Eric Ciano and Hal Luther, our 2 strength coaches up in Buffalo, my whole time there. The first stint I was there and the second stint. Early in my career, we had a coaching change, and they kind of decided they were going to do these Iron Bills games, right? All the veteran players become captains. You pick all the young players, and one day might be like a pull-up hold on a bar. Everybody holds as long as they can. Obviously, the linemen are terrible at it, and the receivers are good at it. And then the next week, it might be tug of war. And now the linemen are kicking the receivers' butts. And we learned over the years how to build our teams with really athletic, fast guys, really big, strong guys. And the first year, we didn't know. We were just drafting our buddies. So, but at first, all of us players were in the NFL. We're like, man, we ain't doing this hairy high school stuff, like doing like games and playing around. Like, let's just train and let us go home. Like, we're professional athletes. Yeah. And man, we all fell in love with it. Like, it was the most fun off season. You start competing with each other. You're talking trash to each other. As soon as you go in there for lunch before practice, everybody's cutting up and laughing. And the guy that won that competition that day is walking around talking trash to his buddy. So, like, that was a big, big impact on me of like, all right, no matter how much you love training and no matter how dedicated you are, how much you're willing to sacrifice, how disciplined you are, at times, let's make it fun, man. And let's do something to where people get excited. Like I said, we ain't having a squat champion on the wall. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of places in town that you can go get that if you want to be in the Arnold Classic. And I'm not beating up the Arnold Classic. That's just not us. No. There's the Liver King, I doubt, is going to come see us. Just guessing. So, all this Arnold Classic, Olympic stuff, yep. We'll do a lot of Olympic, and you're great at teaching Olympic lifts. And I can't wait to watch you show these young people how to Olympic lift efficiently when it's the right time and place for it. So I don't want to always beat up on the Olympic stuff and the Arnold stuff and all that, but when you look at our training piece and our experience piece, those two things, I tell our kids all the time, I tell all our athletes, our job is to help you become a better player on the field and court, period, through developing you athletically. Your sport-specific coach, your club coach, your high school coach, all those awesome people in your life can teach you the X's and O's. All that matters to me is that your parent comes in here 3 months later and says he's having the time of his life or her life and then becoming a better player. That's all I need to hear.
Yep.
If I hear those two things, our training's working, our experience is working, and we are giving a product to these people in this community that's unlike anything they've ever seen. And they're developing as people, they're developing as players, and they're having a lot of fun. Like I want them to be puking and smiling at the same time on those gritty days, like just loving every minute of it. So once again, I go to Joe Gomes for the assessment piece and the injury mitigation and understanding the recovery. And Joe Gomes was all things C.A.T.E.R. He taught me that. Now you put it together and really defined it in your pillars, which is crazy. I've never seen it that way, but that was pretty much what Joe did, just in his Joe way.
Yep.
And then my guys in Buffalo, they're a little more old school in their training techniques. Weren't as new age as what Joe was, but they taught me that fun piece of how to build cool competitions and play fun games. And it's the last 8 minutes of a workout. The workout's already done. Yep. We're not just in there, playing tag or duck goose for an hour and a half. Yeah. We're building it into our workouts to where the experience is just absolutely crazy, and we want you in there every day. And I'm just excited.
Yeah, we want it to feel like a second home.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what youth athlete wouldn't want to be treated like a professional, but also like have access to what we have, and just, man, kudos to you for just even having the vision for this, but making it a reality. Like it's crazy to think that we're going to be in that building soon enough, and here it is. So
you're obviously a mastermind by the way you planned out this C.A.T.E.R deal, because of how everything transitions to each other. So the training and experience piece being back to back, just
peanut butter and jelly, baby.
It's really exciting because I always go back to my NFL career because it was all I knew professionally as an athlete. So what Joe Gomes taught me in Oakland was so special and so life-changing and career-changing for me. That's really the training piece that you bring to the table, and you and Joe were the two best I've ever been around in my life, ever. And then, boom, we go to experience, which hopefully can be where I become the biggest resource for our facility, is making sure that the culture, the fun, the energy, just everything inside this place is unlike any other place on the planet. And that's what I want. And it's going to feel exactly like pro sports, at least pro football. And most pro sports, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, just everybody being together in an intimate team of only a certain amount of kids, only a certain amount of adults, to where this is your Triple F family. Yep. And it's not a, hey, come in and spend an hour doing a workout and get real sweaty, and by the way, please get out of here before the next hour session comes in. No. We have a players' lounge for a reason. It's very, very, very intimate. We have a basketball court for a reason. Go shoot hoop, man. Go get your protein shake in the players' lounge, play a little ping pong, get on the PlayStation, play foosball, hang out with your buddies, talk trash that you just ran faster than he did or she did. And that's going to be our environment, man, just like I'm used to in the league. And we'll never waver from that. So that experience piece and bringing kind of that professional athletic culture to my town that I grew up in and that you've fallen in love with already. Well, we always say Knoxville's a big, small town, right? And it's just a special, special place to live. These kids are special to me. These families are special to me. They're driving on the same roads to get to Triple F that I drove on at their age. The first week I had my driver's license. So that experience piece and the character piece are where I think I prove the most. I can give the most value to our facility. Everything else, man, I'm going to lean on your expertise and trust you and just try to learn as much as I can and be a resource to you. But that's the Rich Burnett guru status. I mean, you're just the best, bro. So those are your deal, and this C.A.T.E.R pillar program is just nasty. I mean, it's even better than anything I've seen in pro sports, quite frankly, especially for kids this age. I've seen every piece of it, but I've never seen it presented so cleanly and really explained the way you're explaining it, which excites me. But for the families out there and folks out there that want to be a part of our deal, character is going to be my first stop, because you'll never get to see the experience piece if you don't have the character piece figured out. And then after that, once you buy into who we are and the way we're going to operate, that experience piece is going to be just absolutely crazy. And then, like I said, it's all goes back to my career. That goes to my guys in Buffalo.
Yep.
With the games we played and the competitions we would have, and as frustrated as all us, veteran pro athletes were, saying we're not doing the Harry High School stuff, we're not gonna play games, let us just work out and go home. We're pro ball players. Every one of us fell in love with it within a week. Mm-hmm. The tug of war, the hanging on the pull-up bar for time. We would just carry plates for as many yards as we could carry them. I'd look back and I can name all. Then the next week it was a gasher competition. You'd run a gasher, do up downs, run a gasher, do jumping jacks. Like just a million things that sometimes the fast guys would win, sometimes the strong guys would win, and it got to be really competitive with how you pick your team based off of needing fast guys, big guys, strong guys, and it just fired us up. So, like we always talk about, we're not going to have a squat champion on the wall, but we're going to have a very competitive environment. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, because guess what? That's what life is, and we're going to celebrate our winners. We're going to encourage our losers. And we're going to get everybody going in the same direction, and that's up athletically. Whether you're the biggest, strongest, fastest kid in the gym, or whether you're the backup offensive lineman, at whatever high school in town. Every kid's getting the same treatment, the same love, and it's going to be an experience and an environment. We haven't even talked about our facility yet, bro.
No.
Wait till the world gets to see this place. They think Triple F's awesome right now. Wait until you truly walk in this place.
Yep. September 3rd.
It's crazy, man. So, hey, everybody I take over there for a tour and come show the place, they're like, holy smokes, man, it doesn't look this big from the road. Or it's just, once you're in there, you can feel the energy already, and what floor goes down in a couple of days here. So it's about to get to be the most exciting little deal around, and I'm excited.
Yeah, so the way I look at experience too is both in process and in results. Like we want people to have a positive experience in both. And it's also just like a fact that human nature, everybody defines experience for themselves differently. Like you're going to have some kids that come in that are just so cerebral, just like, I just want to work, show me that I'm getting results, like push me as hard as you want, like, what I'm saying? And there's some kids, life is so crazy out there, I want to come in and have a good time and be loved on. And we care about all those things. And I'd like to think that you and I and everybody we have in our team and our staff are socially intelligent enough and loving and caring enough that we really can't find what that experience is for every person, because it matters to us. Yeah. But at the same time, we have our structure, we have our way of doing things, and people are going to fall in love with it because of what it is. And like you talking about the facility, man, the player lounge, like we want it to feel like it's these kids' second home.
Absolutely.
We want them to feel like a professional athlete walking in, the way that you did at 5 a.m., you and Matt Ryan jump in the cold tub or hot tub before the day started just to feel fresh. We want that kind of feeling of like, this is your place as much as it's ours. Of course, we'll have, certain schedules and times of when it's appropriate to do that, so just so we can make sure everybody has that same experience. And we got to protect that. But for the most part, like, come 30 minutes early, stay 30 minutes late. Like, that's what the lounge is there for. Like, we want you to be here and to thrive here and feel 100%. Like I'm not just being pushed in and out and just and being trained, and that's it. So, and really that takes us to the last letter of C.A.T.E.R, which is recovery. And really that bookend, right? Because it's not like C.A.T.E.R is some sort of process. Like these are the 5 pillars that uphold the whole structure of Triple F and athletic development that we've decided on. But recovery oftentimes it gets kind of misconstrued. Just it tends to be a little bit of a buzzword that certain facilities claim to do, and like, oh, we do recovery, and like we have these Normatec boots, and you can go over here and use the massage gun. And truth be told, man, recovery physiologically is a lot of what you do outside the facility, right? It's a lot of what these kids are being taught from a lifestyle standpoint and are implementing. Like sleep. It's the greatest supplement of all time. It's the greatest recovery tool on the planet, and yet kids struggle with that. So we really start with those more fundamental things of like educating kids and holding them accountable to those things. But in facility, really recovery gets broken down into really 2 main areas of sports medicine and nutrition. So these are the things that we're providing our members primarily. There's ways that we're able to provide it for kind of our other offerings at the facility, but for the most part, we have built out systems and processes for, okay, sports medicine. What does this mean? What hurts right now? Triage with Emily that I schedule. Dr. Taylor Comfort, who comes in from Onward Knox, who we're partnering with, who once Emily realizes this is something a little bit more serious, we need to escalate it to Taylor when he's there Wednesday evenings to get further evaluation. And then if necessary, I mean, we're referring to our kind of team of orthos and people we know in town that you have an amazing connection with and have a community already built. So it's just so important that we have that avenue, because otherwise, you know, that's just not our expertise. Like I didn't go to school to rehab an athlete. You know, there's a big bridge that I can help build from local injury and global movement, but we have to have those things in place. And that's what Emily Turnbull does for us, and how phenomenal she is, just in both a strength conditioning coach, but also you know, a physical therapy assistant, and just the fact that Taylor is coming on board, and just what we have in place there. So it's not technically like a recovery thing, right? You're not, but under the umbrella of true recovery, just making sure the athlete's healthy, and that's what that means. We have that in place. And the nutrition side with Betsy Johnson taking lead as our nutrition coach, who's going to be just helping athletes like just make the real lifestyle changes and choices that are daily, that they need to be held accountable to, 100%. Of like, oh, I want to gain weight, I want to lose weight. You know, if anything is more complicated outside those two things, we're going to refer out. But where we're stepping in is like, you have to eat enough, you have to be fueled, you have to. If I'm gaining weight, the reality check. This is how much you got to eat. Yep. You know, we had a kid show up to a workout the other day, hadn't eaten anything all day, and it's like, these are the things, man, that both are educational, but we're providing nutrition. That's including the membership. We're providing the shakes. We got the snacks, and then we have the experts in-house to be able to take it a step further if necessary. So I pretty much covered, you know, both of those things as they fall under recovery, just to give, you know, everyone who's, you know, looking into Triple F and an understanding of actually how we're approaching recovery. But then, of course, there's the recovery zone that we're going to have set up on the other side of the basketball court, where that might actually be one of the athletes' rotations where they work on mobility for that 25 minutes. So it's both kind of mobility, soft tissue care, foam rolling, it's the prehab, it's those kind of things that we're still putting under our sports med deal that Emily's taken lead on. But that is really recovery in a nutshell for our pillar and Triple F. And so I'll just let you cap off, man, just what those things kind of mean to you, and maybe you could just speak on Emily and how blessed we are to have her and Betsy and just like this whole process and system that Triple F would not be complete without. There's just no way. I mean, we're doing these three things extremely well, but you and I, the way we operate, we want the comprehensive total athlete approach. We have to have these two things. So,
you know, listen, we're a facility that's going to develop athletes. That's what we do. You know, we're not a PT clinic. We're not, you know, we're not clean eats. We're not a, you know, nutritional facility to where all we do is stroke out meal plans all day. But at the same time, we understand, especially you with all the athletes you've built, from professional athletes all the way down to 10-year-olds, and me playing pro ball all those years. I think we both understand through our months and months of talks since you moved here of like, hey man, yeah, we got the training piece down. We got the character piece down. We got the experience piece down. We got the training. We got all these things down. All right, now that we're moving on to the recovery piece, which we both believe in so wholeheartedly, all right, now how do we bring team members in here to fill that void of what me and you truly aren't experts at? Mm-hmm. And that's where Betsy and Emily just absolutely crush it. And Betsy's just a stud. Emily is an absolute stud. Obviously, Emily will be there day to day, every day, be a huge part of our team. You know, Betsy won't be inside the facility all the time, but she's going to be just the biggest resource in the world. And that's what I love about Betsy, because Betsy's going to sit down my 14-year-old kid, she has a 14-year-old herself, mm-hmm. and say, hey, goofball, it's really not that hard to eat breakfast. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't like eating breakfast. Well, here's why you don't like eating breakfast, because it's not a part of your routine. Yep. Wake up at 6 a.m. every day of your life and eat breakfast at 6:30, you crave breakfast. Yep. Breakfast was my favorite meal during my NFL career, because that was like psychologically the start to the grind. Mm-hmm. Was get up at this time, go get my old butt in the cold tub, because I've been beat up so much because I didn't know how to recover when I was young. So now I'm half broken trying to survive as a 34-year-old veteran. So that breakfast burrito every morning was like psychologically the start to my day. I could not function without it. Breakfast was a big piece. And none of these kids are eating breakfast.
Yep.
None of these kids are sleeping right. So when I tell our young athletes, hey man, to me, discipline and sacrifice is semantics. If you're not willing to sacrifice things, then you're probably not a very disciplined person. If you're not willing to be disciplined, then you probably won't sacrifice things you need to sacrifice. So go to bed, eat breakfast. When I tell a young athlete, hey man, you're not willing to do what it takes to be great, they automatically think I don't practice hard enough, I don't train hard enough because their brains have been distorted. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you won't work. I can see you work. What I'm saying is, what do you do when no one else is looking? That's the recovery piece. And like you said, we got a just unbelievable PT coming on board in Taylor. Got Emily in-house all the time to handle all things PT until Taylor is needed or an ortho is needed, which hopefully with our system and our education, we mitigate risk. That's our job, is to mitigate injuries. But when they happen, boom, Emily's the first line of defense. All right, it's a little bit past Emily, boom, Taylor's the second line of defense. And then, obviously, if we got to get on the KOC or TOC plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, and we'll put some bad to the bone docs around them. But just those layers of protection for these kids. Yeah, we got Normatec boots. Yeah, we got game readies. We got Theraguns. But at the end of the day, coming in there, following our workout plan, being involved in our facility and understanding to get on the bike, get off the bike, get on this rehab, get on that rehab. We're going to have a plan for them, but if you don't do the things at home on your own, if you don't get sleep, if you don't eat right, and that's why Betsy's so good, because she's reasonable. She understands these are kids. She's not going to go overboard. She's going to simplify. Hey, you say you want this, prove it. And here's how you prove it. You do these things, and they're simple. And I got a 14-year-old goofball that don't listen half the time. I got an 11-year-old coming behind him that'll probably be the same way. They're kids, man, and we understand that. But all the little things,
so incredibly important.
So incredibly important. So those are the things that we're going to be on them, man. We're going to be on them. Like, if you truly want this, if you truly want greatness, it's non-negotiable to do these few things. Betsy will have a bunch of one-pagers that we hand our athletes. Hey, bulk up, lean up, get strong, whatever it ends up being, it'll all be inside the true big-time plan that is your baby, that you develop, and then all those little supplemental pieces around it are just going to take it to the moon, man. I'm fired up.
You really can't say train like a pro without recovery being involved, because that is essential to professional athletics in general. But it's just such a gap there, man. And but you and I know it because we've lived it, we've experienced it, and it's like we just have to preach it every day, all day. Because those things that they do outside of when we're with them or when their coaches are with them. And it's funny because parents, they're always like, thank you. I've tried to get my son to sleep for years now. And because you said something, he actually does now. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up really our 5 pillars. And I'm just grateful for you, Lee, and just doing this thing together with you, big dog.
My brother. Man, it's going to be crazy.
The fact that God brought us together the way that he did, man, and build this thing out. We're fired up, and let's get this facility open. Let's get rolling.
Pour into this community, man. Take care of these kids, and show them how pros train. Like, it's amazing when you truly figure it out how much you increase athletically. But they got to buy in, and I'll be a little rugged with them. Like, hey, dude, don't waste my time. Don't waste Rich's time. Don't waste Emily's time. Don't waste Taylor's time. Don't waste Betsy's time. Like, all these people are here because they already assume that you want to be great. And if that's not truly what you want, then we're going to be on you to try to push you there. But once you won't take yourself there, and once you won't trust us and believe in us, then that's going to be a conversation that we have with them and their parent, and it's going to be an uncomfortable one. Because all I know is a bunch of pro football players that refuse to. You know what? That might not even be true. There's been plenty of guys throughout my career that weren't willing to buy in. Guess where they are? Without a job. And when it says train like a pro, it's real to me, man. And I want to give, like, what the resources and team that we're giving these kids. Don't waste our time.
We're different, man. We're different, and how we operate, and to your point, where we meet parents and athletes in the middle is just so crucial because we're going to provide the resources, the team, the plan that you need, but the training has to happen, the effort has to be there, and I know it is, man. The members we have so far already are just phenomenal. Some of the best human beings on the planet, are part of our family already, and one just kind of snippet. If you stayed this long for the episode, one thing that Lee and I both are just like this has to happen is anybody who was a member with us who earned a scholarship playing in college at the highest level or you're moving on, they're training for free with us. So once you're part of the family, that never changes. So if you stayed with us, developmentally as a youth athlete, and once you become an adult and you're still competing and you still need this level of care and supplemental training, we're here for you. And so that's just something that it's just important to us. We want to care for our family. We want it to truly feel like family. So.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be so cool is we get a kid at 11, he trusts us and follows our program. At 18, he goes and plays college football.
That's the plan.
Or college softball or college volleyball. I used to, when I would come back home in the off season, I was coming in, I was doing my plan from the Buffalo Bills or the Oakland Raiders. I had a plan that I was following from Joe Gomes. I quite honestly, I wasn't real interested in paying to walk in a place and train. So I ended up having to build my own gym at my farm.
Yep.
So I was never a big fan of having to pay somebody to walk in and do a plan, especially as someone who earned that college.
Well, you already have a plan. I mean, the plan's already been made by your staff.
100%.
You're still under their umbrella. So, yes.
So they come in, man, they say, hey, Rich, the coach at, North Carolina or at Furman or wherever, here's my plan. All right, buddy, we got you. Do it. If you need any help from me or if you need any advice on the lifts or if I notice anything, they get all the love and care. And then once their college experience is over, boom, our adult program hits.
Yep.
So I can't, and obviously it's a different product than our youth athletic development, long-term athletic development, but it's
a lot of
still
similarities.
just a lot of similarities, man. If you want to train like an athlete and you want to be around that elite athletic environment, then boom, you can do it from 11 till you're 70, and in a place that truly fit. Because that's the thing. You're an elite athlete, 11 to 18. You accomplish a lot of great things. You go play college football. Maybe you go pro. Maybe you don't. I still want to train like an athlete, man.
100%. I want to be measured. I want someone to. I want to feel athletic.
Absolutely. So this adult program is going to be crazy, and so that's going to warm my heart, man. When me and you are sitting around 10 years from now by a bonfire at the farm with a few of our kids or whatever, and all of a sudden one of our 27-year-old, 17 years old today. Now they're 27. They went through our program. We kind of touched on their last couple of years of high school. They go play college sports. Now they come back and they got their 2-year-old and they're an adult member and they're just triple F family, man. And like that culture and that family environment of people that can stick with us forever is just going to fire us up, and I can't wait for it, bro. It's going to be crazy.
It's awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys listening in, and there's going to be so many opportunities, obviously, to get to know us in the future, but it's just important that we show you who we are and what we're all about now, what Triple F is. So appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned for episode 3, where we really flesh out more of the assessment and training piece.